Mrs. Patricia Johnson sat alone in the grand sitting room of her mansion, the same room where she had entertained presidents and billionaires. But tonight, the mansion felt like a prison. The crystal chandelier sparkled above, but it couldn't brighten the darkness in her heart. The expensive furniture, the priceless paintings, all of it meant nothing. Because her son was gone, she held a glass of wine, untouched, staring at it with trembling hands. On the table beside her was a photograph of Philip from 10 years ago, truly smiling. When was the last time she had seen that smile? She couldn't remember. Mrs. Patricia picked up the photograph and traced his face with her finger. For the first time in decades, tears filled her eyes. "What have I done?" she whispered to the empty room. "What have I become?" She walked to the large window overlooking the garden. The moonlight cast silver across the perfectly manicured lawn, the marble fountain, the expensive rose bushes. But what good was all of this if she had no one to share it with? "I only have one son," she said to her reflection, "just one child, and I pushed him away. I drove him out of my life with my own hands." She remembered the look on Philip's face the last time she saw him, the anger, the disappointment, the finality when he said, "Goodbye, mother." That word had haunted her every single day since. Mrs. Patricia walked to the bar and poured whiskey. She took a sip, feeling it burn down her throat, but the physical pain was nothing compared to the pain in her chest. She slammed down the glass. The sound echoed through the room. She made a decision in that moment, a decision that would change everything. "I can't live like this anymore," she said firmly. "I can't die knowing my son hates me. I have to fix this. I have to make things right. Even if it kills my pride, even if I have to beg, even if I have to—" She picked up her phone with trembling hands and dialed her driver. "James, prepare the car." "Yes, ma'am." "Where would you like to go?" Mrs. Patricia took a deep breath. "Lekki, to my son's apartment." Meanwhile, across town in the beautiful Lekki apartment, the atmosphere was completely different. It was filled with joy, laughter, and hope. Victory was running around the sitting room in a beautiful yellow dress, her hair tied up in colorful ribbons. "Mommy, Daddy, look at me, I'm flying." She stretched her arms out like wings and spun in circles. Philip sat on the couch, watching his daughter with a smile so wide it hurt his cheeks. "You're not flying, princess. You're dancing, and you're the best dancer I've ever seen." Lilith emerged from the bedroom wearing a simple but elegant blue dress. She had gained some weight back since leaving the hospital, and her face had color in it again. She looked healthy. She looked happy. She looked beautiful. "Victory, baby, calm down," Lilith said with a laugh. "You're going to get dizzy." "I don't care," Victory shouted joyfully. "I'm too happy to get dizzy." Philip stood up and walked to Lilith. He wrapped his arms around her waist and pulled her close. "She's right, you know. We're all too happy to care about anything else." Then the doorbell rang. The three of them looked at each other. Philip glanced at his watch. Who could that be at this hour? He opened the door and his entire body went rigid. His smile disappeared. His jaw clenched. Standing in front of him, looking smaller and more vulnerable than he had ever seen her, was his mother. "Hello, Philip," Mrs. Patricia said quietly. Philip didn't move. He didn't speak. He just stood there, blocking the doorway, his hand gripping the door handle so tightly his knuckles turned white. "Philip, please," Mrs. Patricia said, her voice cracking. "I need to talk to you. I need to talk to all of you." "You need to leave," Philip said coldly. "Now." "Philip, please." "I said leave," Philip repeated, his voice rising. "You have no business being here. You made your choice. Now live with it." Inside the apartment, Lilith heard Philip's raised voice. Her heart started pounding. She knew that tone. She knew what it meant. She walked toward the door, and when she saw who was standing there, all the color drained from her face. "No," Lilith whispered, taking a step back. "No, no, no." Victory, who had followed her mother, peeked around Lilith's legs and saw the old woman from the mansion. The woman who had dragged her out. The woman who had called her mother a liar. The woman who had terrified her. "Mommy," Victory said, her voice small and scared. Lilith's whole body started trembling. Her hands shook. Her legs felt weak. The memories came flooding back. The threats, the cold voice. The promise to kill her baby. She grabbed the wall to steady herself, her breathing rapid and shallow. "Lilith," Mrs. Patricia said, taking a step forward. "Please, Stay away from her," Philip shouted, moving to block his mother. "Don't you dare come any closer." Mrs. Patricia stopped. She looked at Lilith's terrified face, at Victory hiding behind her mother's legs, at her son's protective stance. In that moment, she truly saw the damage she had caused. "I'm not here to hurt anyone," Mrs. Patricia said, her voice breaking. She raised her hands in surrender. "Please, I'm here to apologize." Philip laughed bitterly. "Apologize? You threatened to kill my daughter before she was even born. You drove away the woman I loved. You made them live in poverty for 8 years, and now you want to apologize?" "Yes," Mrs. Patricia said, tears streaming down her face. "I know words can never fix what I've done. But I can't live with myself anymore, Philip. I can't sleep knowing you hate me, knowing I destroyed our family." "You should have thought about that 8 years ago," Philip said coldly. Mrs. Patricia's legs gave out and she fell to her knees in the hallway. She, the proud Mrs. Patricia Johnson, who had never bowed to anyone, was on her knees crying like a child. "Please," she sobbed, "I'm begging you. I'm your mother, I'm your only parent left. Don't shut me out completely. I know I was wrong, I know I was cruel, but I'm asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for a chance to make things right." Philip stared down at his mother, torn between anger and love. "Get up, mother. You're embarrassing yourself." "I don't care," Mrs. Patricia cried. "Let me be humiliated. I deserve it, but please don't take my son away from me. Don't let me die alone without my family." Lilith watched from inside the apartment, her heart conflicted. Part of her wanted to slam the door forever, but another part, the part that had grown up as an orphan longing for a mother, felt strange sympathy. "Philip," Lilith said softly. Philip turned to look at her. "Lilith, you don't have to—" "Let her in," Lilith said, her voice shaking but firm. "What? After everything she did to you? Let her in, let's hear what she has to say." Philip stared at Lilith, then looked back at his mother, still on her knees crying. He sighed deeply and stepped aside. "Get up, mother. Come inside." Mrs. Patricia slowly got to her feet, wiping her tears. She stepped into the apartment, looking around at the modest but comfortable space. It felt warmer than her mansion, more alive. Philip closed the door and stood with his arms crossed, tense and ready to protect his family. Lilith sat on the couch, pulling Victory onto her lap. The little girl buried her face in her mother's chest, too scared to look at the old woman. "Thank you for letting me in," Mrs. Patricia said quietly. Philip said nothing. He just stared at her with cold eyes. Mrs. Patricia took a shaky breath. "I don't know where to start, but I'll try." She looked directly at Lilith. 8 years ago, I did something unforgivable. I came to your room and threatened you. I threatened your unborn baby. I used my power and money to scare you away from my son. And I succeeded. Philip's jaw was clenched, but his eyes softened slightly. "When Lilith disappeared," Mrs. Patricia said, "I saw how it destroyed you. I watched you search for her for months. I watched you become a shell of yourself. And do you know what I felt? I felt relieved. I felt like I had won. I was happy that she was gone." Lilith gasped softly, and Philip's hands clenched into fists. She walked closer, and Philip immediately stepped forward, positioning himself between her and his family. Mrs. Patricia stopped and raised her hands. "I'm not going to hurt them, Philip. I promise. So I'm here to say I'm sorry. I'm ashamed. I'm horrified by the person I became, and I'm begging for a chance to make things right." The room was silent except for Mrs. Patricia's quiet crying. Philip stood frozen. Lilith stared at the woman who had haunted her nightmares, trying to reconcile the monster in her memories with this broken woman before her. Finally, Lilith spoke, barely above a whisper. "Why should I believe you? How do I know this isn't another trick?" Mrs. Patricia looked at her with desperate eyes. "I have no way to prove it. I have nothing but my words. But I'm not asking you to trust me immediately. I'm asking for a chance to show you I've changed, a chance to be part of this family, a chance to know my granddaughter." At the word granddaughter, Victory peeked out, and looked at the old woman with curious but cautious eyes. Mrs. Patricia's face softened. "Hello, Victory. I'm sorry for scaring you that day. I'm sorry for being mean. You didn't deserve any of that. You were very brave." Victory looked at her mother, then back at Mrs. Patricia. "Are you going to hurt us again?" Mrs. Patricia's heart broke. "No, sweetheart. Never again. I promise you on my life." Philip finally spoke. "Mother, you broke Lilith's trust 8 years ago. You threatened her child. You forced her to live in poverty and fear. And now you expect us to just forgive you?" "No," Mrs. Patricia said quickly. "I don't expect anything. I don't deserve forgiveness. But I'm asking for it anyway. I'm asking because you're my son and I love you. I'm asking because I want to be part of this family. I want to know my granddaughter. And yes, I'm asking because I'm lonely and don't want to die alone." She walked toward Philip and placed a hand on his arm. "Philip, you're all I have. You're my only child, my only family. I lost your father 20 years ago. I can't lose you too." Philip looked down at his mother's hand. Despite everything, he felt something stir in his chest. She was still his mother, the woman who had raised him, who had held him when his father died. "I need time, Mother," Philip said quietly. "This isn't something that can be fixed with one apology. You did a lot of damage. You hurt people I love." "I understand," Mrs. Patricia said. "I'll wait as long as it takes." Lilith stood up, still holding Victory. She walked toward Mrs. Patricia slowly, and Philip moved to stay close. Lilith stopped a few feet away and looked into Mrs. Patricia's eyes. For a long moment, the two women just stared at each other. "I grew up without a mother," Lilith said finally. "I was raised in an orphanage. I never knew what it felt like to have a mother's love. I've always wanted that." Mrs. Patricia listened intently, hope flickering in her eyes. "When I was pregnant with Victory, I used to dream about having a whole family. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins. I wanted Victory to have everything I never had." Her voice grew harder. "And then you took that dream away from me. You threatened to kill my baby. You forced me to run. You made me raise my daughter in poverty, always afraid. Do you know how many nights I cried myself to sleep? Do you know what it's like to watch your child suffer and know there's nothing you can do?" Mrs. Patricia's tears flowed again. "I'm so sorry." Lilith's own eyes filled with tears. "I should hate you. Part of me does, but another part of me still wants that family I dreamed about, still wants Victory to have a grandmother, still believes in forgiveness." Mrs. Patricia's eyes widened with hope. "But," Lilith said firmly, "forgiveness takes time. Trust takes time. You need to earn it with actions, not words." "I will," Mrs. Patricia said quickly. "I'll prove it to you every single day." Lilith looked at Philip, who nodded slowly. Then she looked down at Victory. "What do you think, baby? Should we give Grandma a chance?" Victory looked at the old woman thoughtfully. "Will you be nice to Mummy now?" "Yes," Mrs. Patricia said. "And you won't hurt us?" "Never." Victory thought for a moment, then nodded. "Okay. But if you're mean, I'll tell Daddy." Despite the tension, everyone smiled a little. Mrs. Patricia knelt down to Victory's level. "That's fair. Thank you for giving me a chance, Victory. I promise I won't waste it." Victory took a tentative step forward and hugged Mrs. Patricia quickly before running back to her mother. Mrs. Patricia closed her eyes, holding on to that brief moment like it was the most precious thing in the world. Philip helped his mother stand. "Mother, we have a lot to work through. This doesn't mean everything is okay. It doesn't mean we forget what happened. It means we're willing to try, but if you ever do anything to hurt them again—" "I won't," Mrs. Patricia interrupted. "I swear on your father's grave." Philip nodded. "Okay, let's take this one day at a time." Mrs. Patricia wiped her tears. "Thank you. You won't regret this." "I hope not," Philip said quietly. She moved toward the door, then paused. "May I come visit again? Maybe take Victory for ice cream?" Lilith tensed slightly, then nodded. "Okay, but Philip comes too." "Of course. Whatever makes you comfortable." She left the apartment, and the three of them stood in silence. "Did that really just happen?" Lilith asked. "I think so," Philip said, still processing everything. Victory yawned. "I'm tired, Mummy." After Victory was tucked in and asleep, Philip and Lilith sat together on the balcony, looking out at the city lights. "Do you think she really changed?" Lilith asked. Philip sighed. "I don't know. Part of me wants to believe her, but another part remembers what she did to you. To us." "I'm scared, Philip," Lilith admitted. "I'm scared this is all a trick. I'm scared she's going to hurt us again." Philip pulled her close. "I won't let that happen. I promise. If she even looks at you the wrong way, she's out of our lives forever." "Okay," Lilith whispered, resting her head on his shoulder. They sat in comfortable silence, each lost in their own thoughts, wondering if they had made the right decision. Over the next few weeks, Mrs. Patricia kept her word. She visited regularly, always calling first, always bringing gifts for Victory, always asking Lilith how she was feeling. She was polite, respectful, and genuinely trying to make amends. She went with them to look at wedding venues. When they chose a beautiful beachside resort, she offered to help with the costs. "Please, let me do this," she said. "Let me contribute to your happiness." Philip was hesitant, but Lilith accepted. "She's trying. We should let her help." Slowly, the ice began to thaw. Victory started calling her Grandma Pat and would run to hug her. Lilith found herself enjoying their conversations. Mrs. Patricia told her stories about Philip as a child, about his father, Tamushomwa, about the family history. "You know," Mrs. Patricia said one day over tea, "I never had a daughter. I always wanted one." Lilith smiled. "I never had a mother. I always wanted one too." Mrs. Patricia reached across and took Lilith's hand. "Maybe we can be that for each other." Lilith looked at their joined hands and felt something shift in her heart. "Maybe we can." 2 months later, Philip came home with exciting news. "I booked the venue. The wedding will be in 3 months, right on the beach at sunset." Victory jumped up and down. "Really? A beach wedding?" "Yes, Princess," Philip laughed. They decided to tell Mrs. Patricia together. When she arrived the next day, Philip announced the date. Mrs. Patricia's eyes filled with tears. "I'm so happy for you both." "Mother," Philip said, "we want you to be part of the wedding. To be there with our family." Mrs. Patricia covered her mouth, overwhelmed. "Really? You want me there?" "Yes," Lilith said. "Your family." Mrs. Patricia broke down crying and hugged them both. "Thank you. I promise I'll make you proud." That evening, after everyone had gone to bed, Mrs. Patricia returned to her mansion. She walked to her bedroom, closed the door and locked it. Then her face changed. The warm smile disappeared. The tears dried up. The soft expression vanished, replaced by something cold, something evil. She walked to her mirror and stared at her reflection. "Well done, Patricia," she said to herself. "They actually believed you." She laughed, a cruel, bitter laugh that echoed through the empty room. "Did they really think I would accept that poor rat and her daughter into my family?" she hissed. "Did they really think I would let some orphan nobody become my daughter-in-law?" She paced back and forth, her heels clicking against the marble floor. "I am Mrs. Patricia Johnson. I come from old money, real money. I built this empire with my husband, and I will not let some street urchin destroy everything we worked for." She stopped and looked at her reflection again. "But I was smart this time. I didn't threaten, I didn't yell. I played the broken old woman. I cried, I begged, and they fell for it." She smiled with no warmth, only malice. 3 more months, she whispered. 3 more months of playing nice. And then, on that beach, on what should be the happiest day of their lives, I will destroy them. I will make sure that wedding never happens. I will make sure Lilith and her daughter disappear from our lives forever. She opened her drawer and pulled out a small bottle containing clear liquid. "Poison," she said calmly, "tasteless, odorless, undetectable. 1 drink is all it takes, and on the wedding day, during the toast, Lilith will drink to her future. And that future will end right there." She put the bottle back and locked the drawer. "I can't bear a single minute with those poor rats," she muttered. "But I'll play my part. I'll smile, I'll hug, I'll pretend. Because in the end, I always win, and what I want is my son back. Without that woman and her bastard child." She lay down in her bed, a small smile on her lips. "Sweet dreams, Lilith," she whispered. "Enjoy these last few months, because they're all you have left." Hold on, my sweet family, before we get to the twist. Where are you watching this from? Your bedroom, your office? Shh, we won't tell anyone, ha ha ha. The bus, your couch. Drop your location below: Lagos, Abuja, Accra, Nairobi, Cape Town, London, Paris, Toronto, New York, Karachi, Dubai, Mumbai. Exclamation mark. The next day, Mrs. Patricia arrived at the apartment with her usual warm smile. Good morning, my darlings. I thought we could go shopping today. We need to find the perfect dress for the bride. Lilith smiled, completely unaware of the darkness behind Mrs. Patricia's eyes. That sounds wonderful. They spent the day in luxury boutiques. Mrs. Patricia was attentive and kind, offering suggestions, complimenting Lilith, making her feel special. You look beautiful in that dress, Mrs. Patricia said, as Lilith twirled in a stunning white gown. Philip is going to cry when he sees you. What Lilith didn't see was the way Mrs. Patricia's smile didn't reach her eyes, the way her hands clenched when no one was looking. The weeks flew by in a whirlwind of wedding preparations. Through it all, Mrs. Patricia was there, smiling, helping, acting like the perfect mother and grandmother. I'm so glad we gave her a second chance, Lilith said to Philip one night. She's really changed. Philip nodded, though something still felt uneasy. I hope you're right. Don't you see it? Lilith asked. The way she plays with Victory. She's not the same woman who threatened me 8 years ago. Maybe, Philip said quietly. Or maybe she's just gotten better at hiding who she really is. Lilith sat up and looked at him. Philip, do you still not trust her? I want to trust her. She's my mother. But every time I look at her, I remember what she did to you. That kind of hatred doesn't just disappear. People can change, Lilith said softly. I have to believe that. But Philip wasn't being paranoid. His instincts were right. The wedding day arrived on a beautiful Saturday morning. The beach resort looked like something out of a fairy tale, with white roses everywhere, crystal decorations, and a white carpet leading to the beach. In the bridal suite, Lilith was getting ready in a stunning white dress. Victory, dressed in pink, jumped around excitedly. Mummy, you look like a queen, Victory squealed. The door opened and Mrs. Patricia walked in wearing an elegant champagne-colored gown. Oh, Lilith, Mrs. Patricia said, you look absolutely breathtaking. Lilith smiled. Thank you, Mum. I'm so nervous. Mrs. Patricia took Lilith's hands. Don't be nervous. This is your day. You deserve every second of this happiness. She hugged Lilith tightly, and no one could see the cold calculation in her eyes. Soon, Mrs. Patricia thought, very soon. Outside, Philip stood at the altar in a sharp black tuxedo. His hands shook slightly. Nervous? His best man asked. Terrified, Philip admitted. But in a good way. I've waited 8 years for this moment. Music started playing. Victory came down the aisle first, throwing flower petals. Then Lilith appeared, and Philip's breath caught in his throat. She was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. When she reached the altar, Philip took her hands. You look. I don't even have words, he whispered. The officiant began. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to witness the union of Philip Johnson and Lilith. Mrs. Patricia sat in the front row, dabbing her eyes as if crying tears of joy. But inside, she was counting down the minutes. The ceremony would end. Then would come the reception. And at the reception, the toast. That's when it would happen. Philip and Lilith exchanged vows, their voices thick with emotion. Lilith, Philip said, 8 years ago I lost you. For 8 years I was incomplete. But now I feel whole again. I promise to love you, protect you, and cherish you for the rest of my life. I promise that no one and nothing will ever come between us again. Philip, Lilith said, you saved me. You saved Victory. I promise to stand by your side through everything. I promise that our family will always come first. I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride. Philip pulled Lilith close and kissed her as the guests erupted in applause. After photographs on the beach, everyone moved to the reception hall. Tables were elegantly set with flowers, candles, and crystal. Philip and Lilith sat at the head table, holding hands, unable to stop smiling. Mrs. Patricia sat nearby, watching them. Not for much longer, she thought darkly. Dinner was served, A lavish 5-course meal. There were speeches from Philip's business partners and heartfelt words from Lilith's friends. Then came the moment Mrs. Patricia had been waiting for. The waiters began bringing out crystal flutes filled with champagne for the final toast. Mrs. Patricia had arrived early that morning to speak privately with the catering manager. "I want to do something special for the bride," she had told him, slipping him money. "I want her glass to be unique. I'll bring it myself. It's a family heirloom." The catering manager had agreed. Mrs. Patricia had brought the glass, beautiful crystal with delicate engravings, and personally placed it at Lilith's spot. She had also personally added 3 drops of the clear liquid she'd been hiding for months. Now, as champagne was distributed, Mrs. Patricia watched with barely concealed anticipation. She saw Lilith pick up the beautiful crystal glass, admiring it. "Mum, this glass is gorgeous," Lilith said. Mrs. Patricia smiled warmly. "It belonged to Philip's grandmother. I wanted you to use it for your first toast as a married woman. It's tradition." Lilith's eyes filled with tears. "That's so thoughtful. Thank you." Philip stood up, holding his glass. The room fell silent. "Ladies and gentlemen," Philip began, "thank you all for being here today. 8 years ago, I lost the love of my life. I thought I would never be happy again, but fate had other plans." He looked down at Lilith with so much love. "Lilith, you are my everything. You and Victory are my world. Today I don't just gain a wife. I officially claim my daughter, I complete my family, and I promise you, from this day forward, nothing and no one will ever tear us apart again." The guests applauded. Philip raised his glass, "To my beautiful wife." Everyone raised their glasses. "To Lilith." Lilith stood up, holding her special crystal glass. She was about to take a sip when suddenly, crash! Philip's glass slipped from his hand and shattered on the floor. Champagne splashed everywhere. "Oh no," Philip exclaimed. "I'm so sorry. How clumsy of me." "It's okay, darling," Lilith said, laughing. "Here, we can share mine." She held out her glass to him. Mrs. Patricia's eyes widened in horror. Everything seemed to move in slow motion. She watched as Philip took the glass from Lilith's hand. She watched as he raised it to his lips. She watched as he prepared to take a sip of the poisoned champagne. Her son, her only child, the man she had given birth to, the boy she had raised. He was about to drink poison. Because of her. "No!" Mrs. Patricia screamed, jumping up from her seat. Everyone turned to look at her in shock. She ran toward the head table, her heels clicking frantically on the marble floor. She reached Philip just as he was taking the first sip. She slapped the glass out of his hand, but it was too late. A small amount had already entered his mouth. Without thinking, without hesitating, Mrs. Patricia grabbed the glass from where it had fallen onto the table and drank the rest of the champagne in one long gulp. The room erupted in chaos. People stood up, confused. Waiters rushed forward. Philip stared at his mother in complete shock. "Mother? What are you doing? Why did you—" Mrs. Patricia dropped the empty glass. It shattered into 1,000 pieces, just like her facade, just like her lies. She felt it immediately, the poison working through her system. Her throat began to burn, her stomach cramped, her vision blurred. She looked at Philip, and for the first time in years, her eyes were completely honest, completely clear, completely full of regret. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." Then her legs gave out and she collapsed to the floor. "Mother!" Philip screamed, dropping to his knees beside her. "Someone call an ambulance!" Lilith shouted. Guests pulled out their phones. The band stopped playing. Victory started crying. Philip cradled his mother in his arms. "Mother, what did you do? What did you drink? Mother, please, talk to me." Mrs. Patricia's lips were turning blue. Her breathing was shallow and labored, but she managed to whisper, "The glass was poisoned. I poisoned it. I was going to kill Lilith." Philip's face went white. "What?" "I lied," Mrs. Patricia gasped, each word causing her pain. "I never changed. I never forgave. I was planning this from the beginning. The apology, the kindness, all lies. I wanted to destroy your wedding, destroy your family, but then you drank from her glass and I realized what I had become. A monster, a murderer. I couldn't Couldn't let you die because of me." Tears streamed down Philip's face. "Mother, why? Why would you do this?" "Pride," Mrs. Patricia whispered, blood starting to trickle from the corner of her mouth. "Stupid pride. I thought I was protecting you, but I was destroying you. I destroyed everything. I'm sorry, Philip. I'm so sorry. Tell Lilith I'm sorry. Tell Victory. Her grandmother was a wicked woman who finally paid for her sins." "No, Mother, no," Philip sobbed. "Don't talk like that. The ambulance is coming. You're going to be okay." Mrs. Patricia smiled weakly, blood on her teeth. "No, my son. This is my punishment. This is my justice. I poisoned that drink intending to kill an innocent woman. Instead, I'm killing myself. It's fitting, don't you think? God's justice." She reached up with a trembling hand and touched Philip's face. "You were the best thing that ever happened to me. I should have let you be happy. I should have supported your love. I should have been a better mother." "You were a good mother," Philip cried. "When I was young, you were a good mother. But not when it mattered most," Mrs. Patricia whispered. "Not when you needed me to accept your happiness." "I failed you, Philip." She turned her head slightly and saw Lilith standing nearby, her white wedding dress, her shocked face, her hand covering her mouth. "Lilith," Mrs. Patricia called weakly. Lilith hesitated, then knelt down beside Philip. "I wanted to kill you," Mrs. Patricia said bluntly. "I hated you. I thought you were beneath us. But I was wrong, so wrong. You made him happy. You gave him purpose. You gave him love. And I tried to take that away. Can you ever forgive me?" Lilith's tears fell onto Mrs. Patricia's face. "I forgive you," she whispered. "I forgive you." Mrs. Patricia's eyes closed briefly, then opened again. "Thank you. That's more than I deserve." The sound of sirens filled the air, but Mrs. Patricia was fading fast. She looked at Philip one last time. "Be happy, my son. Love your wife. Raise your daughter. Don't make the mistakes I made. Don't let pride destroy you. Don't let hatred consume you. Just love. Love with everything you have." "Mother, please," Philip begged. "Please, hold on. The doctors are here." Mrs. Patricia shook her head slightly. "No medicine can cure this. This is how it ends. This is how it should end. I tried to poison your happiness, and instead I poisoned myself." It's poetic, really. Paramedics rushed in with a stretcher. They pushed Philip aside gently and began working on Mrs. Patricia, checking her vital signs, starting an IV. "We need to get her to the hospital immediately," one of the paramedics said urgently. "Her pulse is very weak. We need to move now." They lifted Mrs. Patricia onto the stretcher. Philip climbed into the ambulance with her. Lilith wanted to come too, but Philip shook his head. "Stay with Victory," he said. "Don't let her see this. Please." Lilith nodded, tears streaming down her face. She watched the ambulance doors close and the vehicle speed away, sirens wailing. The wedding reception was over. Guests slowly left, shocked by what had happened. Lilith stood alone in her wedding dress, surrounded by the remnants of what should have been the happiest day of her life. She looked down at the shattered crystal glass on the floor. The glass that had been meant to kill her. The glass that had instead become Mrs. Patricia's final act of redemption. At the hospital, doctors rushed Mrs. Patricia into the emergency room. Philip paced in the hallway outside, his hands shaking, his mind reeling. Hours passed. Doctors came and went. They pumped her stomach. They gave her activated charcoal. They administered antidotes. They did everything they could. But the poison had been too strong, and she had drunk too much of it. Finally, a doctor came out, his face grave. "Mr. Johnson?" Philip jumped up. "How is she? Is she going to be okay?" The doctor looked at him with sad eyes. "We've stabilized her for now, but I must be honest with you. The poison has caused significant damage to her internal organs, her liver, her kidneys, her heart. They're all failing. We're doing everything we can, but you should prepare yourself. She may not have much time left." Philip's legs almost gave out. "Can I see her?" "Yes," the doctor said. "She's conscious now. She's been asking for you." Philip followed the doctor into the ICU. Mrs. Patricia lay in a bed, connected to multiple machines. Tubes ran from her arms, monitors beeped softly. She looked so small, so fragile. Her eyes opened when she heard him enter. "Philip," she whispered. He rushed to her side and took her hand. It was cold and limp. "I'm here, Mother. I'm here." "I don't have much time," she said weakly. "The doctor told me. It's okay. This is what I deserve." "Don't say that," Philip said, tears falling freely. "You're going to fight this. You have to." Mrs. Patricia smiled sadly. "Why? So I can spend the rest of my life in prison for attempted murder? So I can live with the guilt of what I almost did? No, Philip, this is better. This is right." She squeezed his hand with what little strength she had left. "I need you to listen to me. Everything I did, every terrible thing I did because I loved you. I know that sounds insane, but in my twisted, broken mind, I thought I was protecting you." "From what?" Philip asked, his voice hoarse. "From being hurt. Your father and I, we came from nothing. We built everything from scratch. We faced people who looked down on us, who tried to cheat us. I became hard. I became suspicious of everyone. I built walls around my heart." She coughed and blood appeared on her lips. Philip gently wiped it away. "When you fell in love with Lilith," she continued, "all I saw was a poor girl who wanted our money. I couldn't see her heart. I couldn't see her love for you. I couldn't see that she was genuine, so I hurt her first. I destroyed your chance at happiness because I thought I was saving you from pain. But I was the one causing the pain." "Mother," Philip whispered, 8 years, Philip. 8 years you suffered because of me. 8 years your daughter grew up without a father. 8 years Lilith struggled. And when you found them again, when I saw how happy you were, I still couldn't let go of my pride. So I planned to kill her." She looked into his eyes. "But when I saw you about to drink that poison, when I realized I was about to kill my own son because of my hatred, something broke inside me. For the first time in years, maybe in decades, I saw clearly. I saw what I had become. A monster. A murderer. Someone who would rather destroy love than admit she was wrong." "You saved me," Philip said. "At the last moment, you saved me." "It's the least I could do," Mrs. Patricia whispered. "After all the pain I caused, it's the very least. I just wish I had realized my mistake sooner. I wish I had been the mother you deserved. I wish I had been the grandmother Victory deserved." She reached up and touched Philip's face. "Promise me something." "Anything," Philip said. "Promise me you'll forgive me. Not now, maybe not for years, but someday, promise me you'll forgive me. And promise me you'll tell Victory about me. Don't just tell her about the evil things I did. Tell her that in the end, her grandmother understood her sin and chose to punish herself rather than harm anyone else." "I promise," Philip sobbed. "And Philip," she said, her voice getting weaker, "love your family. Love them with everything you have. Don't let pride get in the way. Don't let money or status matter more than love. Just love them. That's all that matters in the end. Love." Her eyes began to close. The monitors started beeping more urgently. "Mother," Philip said, panic rising. "Mother, no. Stay with me. Please stay with me." Mrs. Patricia's eyes fluttered open one last time. "I love you, Philip. I always did. I just forgot how to show it. I forgot what love really means. But I remember now. I remember." Philip leaned down and kissed her forehead. "I love you too, Mother. Despite everything, I love you." Mrs. Patricia smiled, a real smile this time, not the fake one she had worn for months. Not the cruel one from her private moments, but a genuine, peaceful smile. "Thank you," she whispered. "That's all I needed to hear." Her eyes closed, her breathing slowed. The monitor's beeping changed to a steady, flat tone. "No!" Philip screamed. "Doctor! Doctor!" Medical staff rushed in. They tried to revive her. They used the defibrillator. They injected medications. But it was too late. Mrs. Patricia Johnson was gone. Philip collapsed against the wall, sliding down to the floor, his body racked with sobs. He had lost his mother, not to old age or illness, but to her own evil plans, to her own poison, to her own pride. But she had also saved his life. She had chosen redemption in her final moments. She had chosen love over hate. Back at the apartment, Lilith sat with Victory on the couch. The little girl had finally stopped crying and had fallen asleep in her mother's arms, still wearing her flower girl dress. When Philip finally came home in the early hours of the morning, Lilith knew from the look on his face she didn't need him to say the words. "She's gone," Philip said, his voice hollow. Lilith stood up carefully, laying Victory on the couch, and went to her husband. She wrapped her arms around him and held him as he broke down completely. All the tears he had been holding back came flooding out. They stood there in the dark apartment, holding each other. Two people who had been through so much, who had survived so much, who had lost so much. "I'm sorry," Lilith whispered. "I'm so sorry, Philip." "She tried to kill you," Philip said through his tears. "She poisoned your glass. She was going to watch you die at our wedding. And yet, in the end, she saved us. She drank the poison herself. How do I process that? How do I grieve a mother who tried to murder my wife?" "She was sick," Lilith said softly. "Not in her body, but in her heart. Pride and fear made her sick, but in her last moments, she chose love. She chose you. That has to count for something." They held each other until the sun began to rise, bringing a new day. A day without Mrs. Patricia. A day filled with grief and confusion and complicated emotions. The funeral was held 3 days later. It was a grand affair, as befitting someone of Mrs. Patricia's status. Business associates, society friends, politicians, they all came to pay their respects. But they didn't know the whole story. They didn't know about the poison. They didn't know about the attempted murder. Philip, Lilith, and Victory kept that secret. There was no point in destroying Mrs. Patricia's reputation now that she was gone. Victory stood between her parents at the graveside, wearing a black dress, holding a single white rose. She looked up at Philip with confused eyes. "Daddy," she whispered, "will Grandma Pat hurt us from heaven?" Philip knelt down and looked into his daughter's innocent face. "No, baby. She can't hurt us anymore. No one can hurt us anymore." "Are you sure?" Victory asked, her lower lip trembling. Philip pulled her into a tight hug. "I'm sure. I promise you, Victory, no one will ever hurt you or your mummy again. I will protect you with my life. You are safe, you are loved, and you are mine." He looked up at Lilith, who stood with tears streaming down her face. She reached down and joined the hug, the three of them standing together at the graveside. "We're a family," Philip said firmly. "A real family, and nothing, not pride, not money, not society, not even death, can break us apart." After the funeral, they returned to the apartment. They changed out of their black clothes and sat together on the couch. Victory played quietly with her toys, still processing everything. Lilith rested her head on Philip's shoulder. "What do we do now?" she asked. "We live," Philip said simply. "We live, and we love, and we make sure that Victory grows up, knowing she is cherished. We make sure she never doubts that she has parents who would do anything for her. We make sure that my mother's mistakes don't define our future." "Do you think Victory will understand one day," Lilith asked, "when she's older, about what really happened?" Philip thought for a moment. "I'll tell her the truth. I'll tell her that her grandmother was a complicated woman who made terrible mistakes, but I'll also tell her that in the end, her grandmother chose to sacrifice herself rather than hurt the people she loved. That has to mean something. That has to count for something." "It does," Lilith agreed. "It counts for everything." Victory looked up from her toys. "Mommy? Daddy? Are we going to be okay?" Both parents smiled through their tears. "Yes, baby," they said in unison. "We're going to be okay." And they were. Dear sweet family, thank you for staying with us through this entire journey. Through the tears, through the pain, through the unexpected twists, through the redemption. If this story touched your heart, if it made you think about forgiveness, family, and the choices we make, please drop a comment below saying "amazing story." Also, tell us, do you think Mrs. Patricia deserved forgiveness? Was her final act enough to redeem her? Write your thoughts below. We want to hear from you. Don't forget to like this video to support stories that make you feel something real. And please, subscribe to our channel so you never miss stories like this. Stories about love, pain, redemption, and the complicated beauty of being human. Remember, family, life is short. Choose love, choose forgiveness, choose to be better than your pain, and always, always protect the people you love with everything you have. Until the next story, take care of yourselves and each other. God bless you all.